5, 16, 19, 21, 30, 3 and 10. Check results. Are you ready?
Oh man, finally. I say finally, but it's sort of back in the norm. I think I underestimated just the sort of homely comforts I had of this usual setup. Don't call it a set, but just this shitty canvas and lights right in the eyeballs, sitting right here. Just in it's comfortable, used to it. I underestimate how poor the lighting is on the boat. There's no curtains, so like there's light coming from that side, above me, behind me, and it's like, and it needs to be more consistent. It needs to be focused to just in front of me, and it's like I need to get some blinds or curtains. It's hard for windows that are not rectangle, but we gotta do what we gotta do. I feel like I couldn't title this again. Something to do with Bobby Altoff, because that'd be like 3 and like 5 about her. That must be a new record. But there just keeps being things about her, and it's like, and I only talk about it because it's podcast. I really like podcasts, and the space of podcasts in a way that I care about the innovation of it and the people doing well in it. I look at people who are doing well or have made a new one, and there's the new one on the scene, and I don't feel any type of way about it just because I'm like, there's some kind of jealousy or envy, like, oh, no, no one else, that should be me type thing, right? But when I see people in a position in something that you care about the innovation of, or like people doing new things for, and it feels just not it, then yeah, it's natural to want to talk about and have an opinion about it. I think that's fine. Because at first I kind of went in with the really neutral, like really on the fence opinion, like I feel no way about it. She can do her thing. It's something for me. I gave no opinion on like her actual podcasts in themselves and the quality of them. It was more just it started off with a confusion, like how is this? Where is this came? How did she? Why did she? When did she? And then the second thing was about how she kind of said, I'm not an industry plant, guys. Look, I paid some viewers of my TikToks if they could hook me up with some famous people they know, and it actually worked. It's like, okay, sure, that was your strategy. Your strategy ended up working. The strategy was pay to win, and it actually worked. So fair play. Although I wouldn't recommend it to most people because it probably won't work for them now. It's sort of like a one and done type thing, and also you also have to be lucky. But now the third thing, mixing kind of into the fourth thing, was all of a sudden the Drake episode went down, and I actually watched it. Well, I didn't watch it, but I watched like first 5 minutes of it the day, and it must have went down like an hour later, because then I saw up on Twitter all of a sudden people were saying it went down. I thought, I just watched it. No, it hasn't. But then I checked and it had, and they had unfollowed each other on Instagram. And I saw a funny tweet, well, a well observed tweet, which was like, the type of people who notice this stuff, that is what you call max level prestige unemployment. I don't know if people notice it and start tweeting about it, or if there's like companies who, I don't know how you could immediately. And if you, I don't know, but it's crazy how you managed to pick up on that. And it's like, I don't know, Drake's had a bunch of people he's probably unfollowed before. I know we had the thing with Ice Spice before, when this thing that he like meets other people, he does a little thing, usually to promote his album or something, and then he sort of scurries away into the night and maybe unfollows them or whatever. And I don't know what's going on behind the scenes for that. I'm not talking about that, but it was just a weird thing, and the podcast went down. It's like, okay. And then she went on a podcast, someone else's podcast, and she was just sort of talking about her interviews and I guess her rise to stardom. And she's not in character, because all these other times she's in character. When she's sort of on her TikTok, she's like doing the sort of awkward character, like, I'm purposely dancing awkward, she's doing that whole thing. When she's in the podcast, it's the awkward character, when she's posting a clip that I'm at the Drake show, I'm going into the awkward character. But this podcast, obviously, is somebody else's thing. I'm just going to talk normally. It's not like people don't know that that's a character, obviously, or that she's not. When I say character, it's obviously not like Borat or something, but you know what I mean. Playing into a vibe, let's say. But she's just talking normally. And not that I enjoyed what she was saying, but I have to just say, man, like people like Amelia de Moldenberg, is that her name? Chicken Shop Day, and I can't remember his name. Sunday Conversations, I can't remember his name. Oh, Caleb Presley got there. People like Amelia and Caleb, right? Who do that, and I think do it the best. They're doing it in literally like interview videos that are like 6 minutes long, you know? And maybe you thought it was like an innovation to then say, well, they're doing it in 6 minutes, so I'll do an hour and 6 minutes. But I don't understand. Like, it works great for you can take clips out of it, and you have more time for clips to form, which you can use for TikTok and Twitter. But if you actually try and watch one of them all the way through, it is like painful. Like, I don't know why you'd even have the video on, but if you had it on just in your ears, it's like you'd so easy. It's like it's just non-stop gaps, just long gaps. It's like the whole humor, the whole comedy is just meant to be in the fact that some person says something, and then it just goes silent. And if you're not listening on audio, you know you can't see whatever their facial expressions are. It's probably just one of them looking at the camera, as they're like, it's just like someone who likes The Office way too much and making it the whole person, and they think that's just humor. That's just it's just pauses and looking at the camera for an hour, for over an hour is crazy, right? Just so you can take probably 3 clips from it and put them up on TikTok, all those clips being like 30 seconds long. An hour, right? But yeah, she went on this podcast and she's just talking like normal, and it's like, that is so much just, oh my god, yes, I can just, and she's just talking. All of a sudden she's real chatty, and she's just saying like how, some people had already, her Lil Yachty interview, right? Some people had already told her Lil Yachty is kind of awkward, this and that. So she had a preconception going into it anyway, which I don't know is always the best thing. But she shows up. Apparently he doesn't even really say hi. He's like with an assistant the whole time. She's just kind of sitting there on her phone feeling awkward or whatever. And she keeps saying the word awkward, which, by the way, you know the amount of times that people are like, this is awkward, and it's like, is it? Was it awkward? Like, you could be sitting in a long car drive and it's been quiet for like 12 minutes, and the person in the passenger seat might easily be feeling like, this is awkward. This is so awkward. But the person driving might be feeling like, this is an awkward. We know each other fairly well. We can go through patches of just silence. That's normal until conversation just arises again, or we have something to actually talk about. Anyway, she's in there feeling really awkward about everything, and she's sitting there, and he's like, she's not really acknowledging you. He's talking to an assistant or something. And like, I don't really know how this stuff goes, you know, these famous people, you know, they show up late or whatever, but you're in his house, you know, so anyway, he finally comes over to her and says like, hey, you good or whatever. And it's like, it's all like, by the way, this is all like perspective type stuff, because she's a like self diagnosed I was about to say, but like, she calls herself an awkward person anyway, right? So can you not see how it's easily also could be flipped just by somebody else's perspective, that you were the one being kind of weird? Like, yeah, man, she just came into my house, and then, you know, she didn't really say much. She was just like sitting on her phone the whole time, and then I had to come over to her eventually and be like, hey, whatever. Like, I don't know, like it just seems like a nothing thing that happened. Like, oh man, you're in his house and he's doing you a big favor. And because she sits there and she's like, all of a sudden, I don't even want to do this anymore. I just want to leave. I text my friend, and she's like, no, play into it, call him out for him, the thing, and whatever. And she gets her clips right, and she makes the pods, right? And it's like, you know, it's like just sort of like an unspoken thing. It's like when you do interviews or podcasts with people, right? And then people who do those podcasts go on other podcasts and they say, who's been really difficult to work with, or who's been really, it's always, I don't really want to say, everyone's been mostly lovely. Like, there's some people who like to show up late, or like, but you're not just going to immediately call them out and drag them. And it's like, immediately just like, kind of just call some, like, exposes, calls someone out, drags them for just like a bit, just so you have something to spill on someone else's podcast. It's like, and yeah, there's no such thing as bad press. That can also be the angle. Or this is all just for clips, and it's just press, and it's all just more people talking about me. But the thing is, there is such thing as bad press when it's continual. Maybe there's no such thing as bad press in the present, But, you know, the thing about the whole no such thing as bad press thing, and that's giving you good growth, is that growth is, you know, it will plateau. Like, it's not, you have to keep upping the bad press for people to still go on about you. If speed, you know, if it was the same thing every time, or Aiden Ross or something, it's like it goes from being news to just being, that's just that guy who does that same annoying thing, and you just become an irritant, a rash, and ultimately you just forgot I even had that there, you know, type thing. So you always have to do something bigger and something new, and it's like until it just gets to a point where ultimately you're just completely done, you know. And it's like there's so many people who like exist on the internet, right, and are successful, and some of them are at the peak of the, or whatever that field they're in, and they're just normal people. They're just nice. There's no gimmicks there. They just make what they make in the way they want to make it, and then that's how they live. I don't know why it's just like inherently speaking, if you want to do well, you have to generate some kind of conversation about you all the time. I'm not even saying what she's doing. It's just a wider point. It's just like you don't have to do that. Maybe it's easier in the short term, or it's easier now, but it's not sustainable, and like it's probably not nice either just to live and receive whatever the backlashes of that on like a daily basis. Like in terms of the actual podcast she's making, I think they're whatever. If like they're your taste and you like them, fine. I personally wouldn't listen to it, right? If in terms of how she got in a position to do this, people have had their theories. She's given her explanation for those. Whether you agree with that or you think that's cool, sure, that's again just another opinion. But I do just kind of think there's a couple weird things just popping up already. Just kind of like, not that you're like a bad person, but just like, don't do that. And then the podcast thing I just thought was kind of poor, you know? Especially for such like a little thing, you know? That could be such a nothing thing. I think you can get into a space sometimes and immediately you already think you're everybody's friend and you already think you can just say what you want. And it's like, we don't really actually know you and you've been here 5 minutes. It's like someone new coming into your friend group in your circle, and you know they already feel like they know everyone and they're already doing like the jokes you tell each other, but you don't really know them. They're calling that guy fat and they're talking about that guy's hairline, and it's like I know we were just doing that, but like we don't really, you're not. It's kind of, and it's like all of a sudden she's like now on another podcast and she's like, oh, it's okay, you guys don't get it. I can joke about Lil Yachty because, you know, we're friends, we're cool, we just did the podcast together. And it's like, okay, but like, it's still just, I don't know, it's giving off quite weird energy. And it's hard as well with these kind of people who like do consistent content where they're like playing a type of character, because then it's like, even when they're speaking normally, it's like, is this just again another thing you're playing into? It's like hard to tell. And this happened, I think, the same day where I don't know who this guy is. I think his name was Bootleg Kev, who has a podcast. I looked through his channel. He seems to interview like musicians and rappers and all people in the music space, and it seemed pretty cool. But I've never seen his stuff before. He had like 250,000 subs, and EST Gee walked off, right? And this has happened in a similar time now. If that, and like he posted that within like 2 hours of it happening, right? So that's like kind of talking about how someone was like shitty on the day you interviewed them, and it's like she did the same thing. So why is this different? I mean, it's completely different because like Little Yachty apparently was like not giving you enough eye contact or something, whereas this was just like completely uncalled for. And also like you guys still did the podcast. You still sat in his house and you kind of still went through the whole thing and you got your whole podcast out and you did your thing. It's like, if I'll explain the EST Gee thing because I'm probably going to label this whole pod around that, because I don't want to label it around Bobby again because it's turning into just the whole thing, my whole personality. But he's on this guy Kev. I assume short for Kevin, so I'm going to call you Kevin. No, I'm going to call you Kev. Kev's podcast, right? And then he's asking him about like his. I know like in America, like the sports you played in school is like a bigger thing. So he's asking about like college football or something like that, or like he used to play to a certain level. I don't fucking know about American sports, right? But it's something, it's like newsworthy enough to talk about. It's kind of interesting, right? I used to do this. And then they're kind of talking about it. And it kind of gets to a point and he's like answering in a way that's like, he's just boring and not really trying, doesn't want to be there, just kind of like, yeah, sure. And then he kind of just gets up and goes. And then Kev is just kind of paused there and he's like, oh, this has never happened before. For the first time, EST Gee has walked out. I've had a guest walk out. And he gets it posted and it goes up. And it's like, what, do you not like people knowing about your football stuff? Like, because that's what you were just talking about? Okay. Then EST Gee posts on his story, like, why are you trying to make out like I left and I walked out? Because you was asking about football. I've spoken about football on all these other podcasts or platforms. So it's not because of that. I left because you were asking me about aliens and just a bunch of random shit, basically. I can't remember everything he said, so I'm just going to make stuff up. He was asking me about aliens and jelly and, Ronaldo, right? What has that got to do with my album coming out? And it's like, have you listened to a podcast before, mate? That's kind of what they are. You talk about any and everything. It's kind of just random. You go off on tangents. When you when you go on a podcast, have you done one before? When you go on a podcast to promote your album, you being there and it being funny and having clips and stuff from it is the promotion. Us sitting here for an hour talking only about your new album probably won't do that well. It's probably interesting enough. We will talk about it, at points in there and there. But like, what are you going on about? It's like, a lot of people saying, oh, Drake probably did that Bobby podcast because it's like he's got an album coming out. It helps. And those clips from that are massive. They're huge, right? They don't talk about the album too much in there. Like I said, I've not listened to it. But, they're not really talking about the fucking album. Like, have you seen a fucking podcast? Like, it's not... Because you're promoting your album, what are you going on about? Secondly... And then he was like, I you don't even know this, but people will tell you, I got shit going on in my personal life. I got things going on to me. Like, you don't even know. And it's like, so don't try and pull this narrative and you just want to go viral. That's why you post it like 2 hours after it happened. You just want a viral moment. You're acting crazy, and don't try and act crazy, because I can I can play real crazy. What are you threatening me for? If you threaten me, if you beat me up right now, go and beat me up right now, it's going to hurt me a lot physically. But what does that prove? That you're not an arsehole? That you didn't walk out early? I've still got, like, it doesn't... Just immediately threatening me, which is what everyone goes to, is like, what does that do? Oh, you're the tougher guy, I'm the pussy. Sure. Now, what has that got to do with you just walking out on the podcast? What else did he say? He said something. Oh, you just want a viral moment. Yeah, man. This is my job. Like, yeah, I mean, this is not the viral moment I wanted. But yeah, the whole point of my job is to create an entertaining podcast that people will want to listen to, and then have clips from that podcast go up. It's like kind of the whole structure of my job. It's like going up to him saying, hey, why do you have this song on your album that's like a little bit more catchy than the others? And you're like, oh, that's the one I think might get more radio traction. Like, I got a couple more on here that are a bit more personal, but I think this one's gonna get real. Oh wait, you just want a TikTok banger? You just want a song that goes big? Jake, why did you make Tootsie's Slide? That's not okay. What are you going on about? Like, it's the actual job. The dog says she knows I'm getting irate. And then the whole like. And also, you don't even know why I stormed out. I don't need this going on in my life. Don't try and call me out in this moment in my life, because I got shit going on. I got things happening to me. Again, this worry, like I'm the center of the things happening to me, so everyone's got to do things exactly the way I want them to do it, and I'm just got to sort of give the exact vibes and energy I demand because I've got something going on. Well, if Kev's got stuff going on, everyone's got things going on for the most. Like, what kind of nothing point is I bet you didn't know because you didn't even ask. I have things happening to me, so... Alright, do you want to ask that back to me now? Because very easily the same. And it's just like... it's just like out of order as well. To him, it's like, I don't need this. Wait to ask me about aliens and shit. I've got an album coming. Oh, ask me about my album, right? It's like, he's probably got maybe a small crew of people, maybe a guy behind the camera and stuff. And it's like, on a very, very smaller scale. But like, this type of thing has happened to me before. And it's like, and again, it's very different. I've only interviewed people like 5 times, and it's been over like a Zoom call, and it's not the same. But it's like okay, so I got me and then a couple of other guys. We're all gonna drive in and set this shit up. And we're all gonna get him. Maybe, oh yeah, we're gonna do that thing like you do the research. You're like on there looking through the Wikipedia, looking through other interviews, you're watching other podcasts. You spoke about this before. Okay, he hasn't. You're doing, and you get there and you sit there, and then 20 minutes in, it's like after showing up 2 hours late and probably not even giving a fuck about it. You're just like, yeah, I'm gonna go. Like, what the hell, man? What the hell? This is like our whole thing. This is like our job. This is like what we do. This is like what we like to do. It's like what we've been working towards doing. Not just in the 20 minutes that you've been here. Not just in like the 3 hours leading up to before you came here, where we've been setting up and stuff. Not even to like maybe the week or a couple of weeks before that, when we've been like looking into and researching things to do this whole thing and for it to go well. And you know, you're just gonna, oh god, I'm better shit to do. Why did you say yes in the first place? No one had a gun to your head. You came here because you rated it enough and you thought it was a good place to premiere. It's just bad. Just don't like it. It's icky. It's shitty. But yeah, that's what, I feel like I've been speaking for 7 years. But it's like 20 minutes. So yeah, I think this is 2:30. See you in 2:31.
Here with the kids, and they had like 3 kids, and the geezer was probably on like maximum 20 bags a year. Like the most boring bloke you'll ever meet. He was like a hero.